Welcome to the NC DWI Guy podcast, where defenders of the Constitution assemble to prepare for courtroom battle and firm owners gather to develop marketing strategies that will revolutionize the practice of criminal defense. Here's your host, the NC DWI Guy, Jake Minick.
Hello, fellow freedom fighters, and welcome to another episode of the NC DWI Guy podcast. Today, we have a very special guest on the episode, Henry. This is our first in-person podcast episode recorded. We had a couple of guests on the podcast, but we're doing this thing in the same room. This is going to be cool.
This is big.
It's going to be cool. So Henry Padilla is the man. He has been with me basically almost since day one of starting the firm, has crushed it in the Hispanic community for us since day one, earning us an amazing reputation, always looking for ways for us to help clients, always looking for ways to improve the service. He is a big thinker. We constantly get lost in conversations of how to change the business and change the world that, will never come to fruition because we have nobody writing down all these awesome thoughts. But it's gonna be a fun podcast. We are 2 weeks away from 10 year anniversary. So started the office November the 1st of 2010. So 10 years, and you basically came aboard, I think it was around April.
That's right.
April 2011. So about 6 months in. So you've seen basically the whole project, and we were talking even before that point. So literally you kind of seen it since day one. And that's going to be fun to kind of just reflect on that. So Henry, tell me a little bit about where we started out with this whole thing.
Well, as I remember, I was working with another law firm and that you were working at, and you decided to start this journey by yourself. And I no longer was working at that law firm. And so we just, I guess you called me and said, that if you want to work together in this journey, and say, that's that. I felt that was professional. That was a good move for me, and even that you were new, but I knew you from before, and I knew you have quality of the person you were. So that was really.
I got lucky. I caught Henry at a moment where he was extremely bored. He needed something to do. Henry was he's a killer person in the work environment. So I think you were yearning for that. I think you were looking for something to put your mind into. So that's a good time.
It was a good timing. It was a good timing for everybody. But reflecting on this 10 years, it's been really a pleasure working with you and along the attorneys that we have here and the staff that we have here at Minick Law. It's just been great. Professionally, it's been fulfilling, and personally too, just to have the chance to meet a lot of great people here at the office.
I think Henry and I started off. I opened the practice and was working basically out of a glorified closet at a real estate lawyer's office here in town, Rich Maida, who is a great attorney, a great human being. But he basically allowed me to have this space in the back of his office with where there's temporary dividers. We carved out basically a little, probably it's 6 foot by 12 foot office space, put a couple of desks in there, and he basically said, if you can close 2 closings for me a month, this space is yours. And I was like, that is the best looking office space that I have ever seen in my life, because it's completely free. So
absolutely, there was no privacy at all.
No privacy, no windows.
But on the flip side, we really have a good channel of communication between you and I. There
was all of at that time we were I guess still probably social distancing because we were probably about 6 feet apart, but we were 6 feet apart like 24 hours a day. Like for the business hours, we were 6 feet apart at all times. So, but tiny quarters. So yeah, I think when I started with him, we had already had that kind of makeshift office space, and then just basically added another desk in there, and kept the overhead low, and made people come in when they came into the office. We'd sit in the conference room with them, so it kind of still felt like a law office. We didn't invite them into the closet when they came in, but it worked well.
Yeah, man, I think it would be kind of also a lesson for new attorneys, new entrepreneurs, that they need to start like a small, and they have to prove a concept,
right? And
then start thinking on growing.
Yeah.
Because if you want to start, backwards, it might fire back at you, and it put you literally out of business.
Yeah, and
so I think it was smart.
I think that just to dive in on that proof of concept idea, I think there's like a proof of concept to the marketplace, right? Like, you've got to prove that you're worthwhile to other attorneys, to the client. But I think the main proof of concept is to yourself. Like, I can kind of make this thing work, right? And the less that you have to worry about big expenses, costs, the less risk you have to put on yourself, and especially the early stages, the easier it is to kind of put yourself all into that idea, because it's not going to cost anything.
Yeah. You need to try to perfect the recipe first.
And I think that's one reason why it made it so easy to bring you aboard, because basically, I was sitting down, and really like the first few hires that we had at the firm, lost sleep over, like that's one of those things when you're doing this like kind of crazy, open, hang your own shingle for yourself. It's kind of like, well, worst case scenario, I can go like find a job somewhere else. Like I just need to like provide for my family, which was then just like Laura, Natalie, and me. Like there wasn't like, it wasn't a ton of people that were depending on me. But when you start bringing on employees, then all of a sudden it's like, am I going to have to tell this person in 4 months that I'm not going to be able to keep them aboard? Like, how's that going to impact their family? So I spent a lot of time thinking through this, but with you, it was a really easy first hire for 2 reasons. One, because we had worked together before, and I knew who you were as a person. So it's kind of like, this is definitely the right person. There was no question marks about that. But beyond that, I think that what was helpful was we were immediately able to reach a new market, right? The Spanish speaking market. So that's people that I couldn't help before, now we could help. So it's kind of like we, even without having like a book of business to bring aboard, it's like we've got all of these potential clients that we can now help that we couldn't help before.
That is true. And another point is you got to be smart at hiring your people. I think the key of success to a really good business is hiring the right people at the right time. Before you were doing it more organically, and hiring some people that you knew in the past, or that you have worked in the past. But now, as you are growing with Minick Law, you are trying to systematize how are you going to do your hires,
Yeah, that's a tough thing to do.
And you've been working on that, so that's great.
Yeah, I mean, I think that people are really what make the business. I
agree.
I think that it's one of those things that I've gone through, periods in kind of the development of the firm where I tried to kind of downplay the person that was working in the office, and basically just kind of in my mind, if I can give this person the right tools, the right system, the right script in terms of, potential clients and calls and, even what to say in the courtroom, then we can succeed. But it really is like the human person that allows us to give a wow experience to the client. The system can only take you so far. It's the people that really kind of make make us a brand in terms of, man,
That's right.
that was an amazing experience.
Yeah, it's all about having your own stamp, you know, how you can deliver that service, and how to improve that client service throughout the process.
Right.
You know, it's not only as attorney to deliver a great outcome. What you need to do, and you guys do it all the time, is just deliver a great product and, you know, represent well the client, but work on the experience of the client when it walks into your office.
Right.
That's what is going to separate you from another attorneys.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that it is how the service is delivered that is what makes the attorney-client relationship memorable. I think most people that come in to have you help on a DWI or a traffic ticket, they expect that you know the law and what to do with the particular case. So, there's 20 different people that are, capable in almost any market. I mean, there might be a few small counties where there's not that many. In a lot of the big markets, there's way more people than that are potentially able to help them through this problem. So, choosing an individual lawyer is all about kind of what is the sense that I get in a very brief amount of time interacting with that firm, that they are going to handle my case well. They're going to do it correctly, that they care about me as a human being. That's, I think, where you can really separate yourself. And it takes people to do that. The best systems can only help that, but they can't make it happen.
Yeah. Otherwise, you will go just to a computer, hire somebody online, and, have them taking care to court, and that's it, But they wanna, when they come here to the office, they wanna feel that they've been heard.
Right.
That there was a mistake they made, but they're willing to put that behind and, looking forward.
Right. Yeah. I think that's definitely got to be the focus. And, I think that was something that we kind of started to figure out relatively early on. That we started to kind of tinker with, like, how can we focus on the experience. I think you and I would have like regular, like, bring your own lunch and have like a marketing business discuss all things session. That was probably, in terms of where we are now, maybe some of the most influential stuff that happened in those early days, was just kind of like thinking through these bigger picture concepts of how is, like, McDonald's and Chick-fil-A and, Apple, how are they getting it right? What are these places doing that we could mimic that most other large businesses are not? Like, what are they doing? Because you can see it on this grand scale in a way that you can't see it in the small place. It doesn't mean you can't see some of those, same qualities of great customer service in a restaurant that is just like a family-owned restaurant, but on this kind of like mass scale. How are these people able to do this with such a great service consistently? That's like such a separator.
It is. And I remember those talks that you and I had. How can we improve? How can we improve our business? How we can, help more people? That something that you want to have clear from the beginning. It was about helping people.
Right.
That was it. How we can help people and how we can help more people. And
which is simple. It's not like, it's not rocket science. It's a pretty, I think most service industry businesses have to have that be some sort of a focus of their organization. But I think for us, having that kind of like simple center was like, well, now there's a million different ways that we could kind of like try to make this happen.
Of course. Yeah. And I remember also being part of our talks. I remember like when we started it, we were doing a little bit of everything. right? When we were doing like, maybe we were taking personal injury cases, and we were taking on family law cases. But I think
thinking about doing trusts and the wills and all that
right,
stuff.
right, and we were doing all right. But I think you, as the head of the organization, like, thought that we needed to concentrate on something, and that was key for the success, I think, for Minick Law, because I think Minick Law separate law firm as being the firm to go for a DWI, for example.
Right.
It's just because you decided early on that was where you wanted to go, and that is key for businesses. They need to know, or they need to put a lot of time trying to figure it out. What's their niche? Right. What they want to be the best at? What they've been, why they want to do that? And I think you were able to identify that early, and here we are.
Right.
Minick Law is probably has more than 10 offices, or in different counties, services more than 15, 20 counties. And that's what you do. You do criminal and traffic law.
And I think that in that like vein of focusing in, one reason why it's good to niche is because you can provide a higher quality of knowledge about that one thing than if you're kind of spread across multiple different practice areas. But there are ways that you could, hire potentially an attorney that's great at personal injury, hire somebody that's really, kind of interested and good at family law. So there's ways, I think around that, but beyond just like the knowledge issue, which I think having everybody focused on the same thing. So your entire staff knows about DWI. Every attorney is like focused on DWI. You can have like those mock trial and training days that are so like critical for all of us kind of advancing in that direction. I think beyond that, even how you communicate with the client is different across all of those different practice areas, and how much you're in the courtroom is different across all of those different practice areas. So when you have an office that can have a tone that is, we understand what you're going through right now. Like, we understand how traumatic it is to have those handcuffs go on, be put into the back of a patrol car, sit down at the jail all night, come back the next morning to your house, feel like a wreck, feel like you've like just washed your, all of the good things that you have worked towards down the toilet. How's this going to impact my family? Like, having heard those stories enough times and really being able to relate to that requires like a different level of communication than, family law or personal injury. Like, there's just, these are really different needs that a client is coming to you with, and you can communicate your experience in handling the cases in so many nonverbal ways, just in terms of how you're responding to these types of questions. So I feel like the identity of the office being so focused in one practice area, it's not just about the knowledge, although that to me is really important, like how much we focus in on that, but it's like the whole tone of representation is like, this is what we do.
Yeah. It's also saying, we know what you have been through, and we are here to help.
Right. Yeah. I think, one of the things that we focused in on early from like, I want to say it was either summer of 2012. I think it was summer of 2012. So not right after you had first joined the firm in 2011, but I think it was summer of 2012. We had, again, just you and me at the office. And I went on a beach vacation, and my brother-in-law Mike gave
yeah.
me a copy of the
E
E-Myth by Michael Gerber,
Yep.
and he was like, he just pulled it off the shelf. I think you might like reading this. And it was like fireworks going off in my head for the next like 4 days. That book, like other than the Bible, and it's maybe like the Bible of business, but like other than the Bible, has had like more influence on my life than like any other book that I've ever read. And I can remember coming from that trip, and I think Jeremy may have been like interning that summer with us as well, because I think he was sitting at the table, my brother Jeremy, and just being like, this changes everything. Like we have got to start running our organization as if we were going to build 1,000 Minick Law offices. The whole kind of book is about like, kind of looking inside McDonald's and how in businesses, well, not just McDonald's, but how in small businesses, everything must have a system to kind of work correctly. And you have to build your business like 1,000 other businesses are going to be modeled after it. Even if you never build another one ever, the way that your systems are going to run your business, if you build it like that, is going to change like the dynamic of even that one office. And that was like one of those like moments in terms of like what have been some landmark moments at the office reading that book, and then the discussions that followed based on that were just amazing.
Yeah. And the mission and the vision, since then have changed, and it's amazing how that book impacted all of us here at the law firm. We've all here at Minick Law, we have read that book, and are implementing several like taking actions on what the book says. I think it's a great book, and you said it might be the Bible of business. It has so much packed into that reading, and it's just it's a lot of business wisdom in there. I myself, I gifted away a couple of those books to some people that they're in business, that they are entrepreneurs, and I told them, hey, just read this. It's gonna really change your life. I've heard the feedback and say thank you so much. And I know you've gifted that book to a lot of people too. So it works. It has been working here at the office. So yeah,
it's one of those. I think that because of how Gerber basically like uses this story of, I think her name is Sarah, who is the baker in the story, and how her store All About Pies kind of is able to implement these, kind of big concepts that he talks about throughout the book, but you kind of like really can feel it through her. Like there really is, there's a power of storytelling communication in these kind of business concepts, and why systems are so important. I don't think it would have had like the same impact if that like story piece of it had not been in there, and you could kind of put yourself into Sarah's shoes and be like, that's how I feel, I'm working these crazy hours, and like the only way to kind of improve the business is just to spend more and more time doing it and keep growing. But now there's more tasks to be done by me because we have grown. Like figuring out that kind of like crazy, part of the growth process is where I think most businesses really do have a difficult time. Most small businesses really do have a difficult time because it's so hard to scale from 1 to 2 and 2 to 3. It's much easier to scale from 10 to 11, 11 to 12 than it is to have those kind of first moments of like, how do I continue to make this thing bigger without duplicating myself? Because like there's no multiplicity machine going on around here.
It's I like the picture that you have at your office that it says discipline equals freedom, and it's really what the book talks about, in essence, because Sarah was not being organized. He was not running that business in an organized way.
Right.
And she was trying to do all herself
Right.
too,
And I think that this problem is really a major problem for all small businesses, but maybe even in a special way for criminal defense district court attorneys. And the reason why I think that is because having systems is kind of about like, how am I organizing things? How am I making sure that when I do the same thing each and every time, I do it the same way, I use the same checklist, I use the same document, the same form to make this, kind of next step in the case process happen, this next step in the court process happen. And I think that there's a lot of frustration in trying to figure out how to systematize that, because so much of what happens in the courthouse and in the courtroom appears outside of our control, right? Like we, as the defense attorney, don't get to call the docket.
Right.
We don't get to, decide what day our case is going to be heard. I mean, there's ways to plan for that and to modify that to better fit a good system for handling cases. But I think when you're first starting out, it just seems like none of that stuff is inside of your control. So I think in a special way, it's kind of like, well, how am I going to organize this? I'm not the one that owns this, process, this calendar, this timeline. And I think that there is an element of lie to that, but there's also an element of truth. And you just have to kind of get past that and say, no, we are going to systematize the pieces of this process that can be systematized. Yes, there's going to be things that are outside of our control, but the things that we can have control over, we're going to make sure that it happens like clockwork.
Yeah. I have worked with several, criminal defense attorneys here at the law firm and outside of the law firm too. I think the perception of the book talks about, doing things consistently or repetitively and systematizing in a process. Some attorneys, what they think about that is, no, I'm going to do my own thing and I'm going to do it at my own time and I'm going to put my stamp. But that is great. But you have to be disciplined. Right. How you create your own process. We're not saying that it shouldn't be your own process. You could you got to make it your own. You got to make it your own, but it needs to be consistent.
Right.
There's no why you cannot create a form to use it for all your clients all the time. That's going to alleviate a lot of your time, trying to piece it together like an intake, asking different questions. You might miss some questions. So I think it's just investing the time from the get-go and systematizing so you can, have the fruits of that time that you put in.
Right. Yeah. I think for a couple of years following that, reading the E-Myth, we just became kind of maniacal about, like, if that's the right word to use, but just like super focused on creating systems, processes. And I think, for about the next 3 to 4 years, there was a shift in mindset. And, again, there was a tremendous amount of positive influence from the E-Myth in terms of how do you turn your practice into a business? How do you kind of make what you do every day go from being a job that you've given yourself into being a business that is running itself, and so those systems and kind of the framework of that really changed and improved what we were doing. But I do think that the one negative side of that, and this wasn't necessarily a problem with the book, it was more a problem of like kind of my own ways of kind of thinking through that, was there was an overemphasis on systems over people. So, if basically I can create the right system for somebody to operate in, then, any attorney that comes into the practice can succeed. Any person that comes in as a receptionist, a paralegal, if we have the right systems, then that person is going to succeed. And it's not to say that we haven't had, throughout the entire course of the firm, a lot of amazing people that have worked at the office, and many that worked early on, Lance, that have been there almost since the beginning. A lot of people at the office that have been here for more than 5 years. I think we've got maybe 5 or 6 right now that have been here for more than 5 years. So a lot of people that have been here for the long haul and done great work. But I think even in terms of just my own mindset, I really downplayed like the value of people and making those systems shine. And really like the number one like equity that we have as an organization.
Of the people.
That's it.
Yeah. If you take care of your people, they're going to take care of you.
Yeah. And and take care of your clients and the community, and, just create tremendous goodwill for what you're doing as an organization. If you have the right people in the office, it is going to kind of make what is, just something that you see every day, which is, a business that has a sign out front, into just like something, totally transforming, totally life-changing when a client walks into that office. It's all the people that are doing that.
I think the clients are gonna see that, if we are all invested, and again, we are Minick Law Firm is it concentrates in criminal and traffic law. So they are gonna, when they are having the consultation, they are gonna know that we know pretty much everything that we need to know to deliver a good product, and we are invested in delivering a great outcome.
Yeah, and I guess, question that I have for you, Henry, in terms of just like the way that you kind of help build people. You've gotten to see a lot of different experimentation in terms of like how we really try to kind of get the best out of ourselves. What are some of the things that you've seen that, either in the firm here or elsewhere, that really allows people to kind of shine in their job?
I think something that is really important, and as an employer, employees need to recognize that people are there to succeed. They want to succeed. I don't think you have lazy employees. It's just more like not enough motivated people. And employers need to recognize that. And that's why, Google kind of makes pretty much everything that they can to make sure that their people show up at the campus and they are fully motivated. Right. It's funny, but now people get motivated with having rec rooms or your games and that kind of stuff. And, and challenge too, people want to be challenged.
I think that's critical. I think that having, perks and fun together and downtime, is really important. And I feel like our retreats have really allowed some tremendous bonding to occur. To have like those moments where you're outside of the office, nobody's calling, you're not frantic about anything, and the relationship really isn't kind of pressured at that particular moment to get something done for someone else. You're just kind of hanging with the kind of firm family. But I also do think that like that challenge element is way more critical. It's not to kind of downplay like the kind of bonding side of things and just having a good office environment, a fun environment to work in. But, like you said, people want to succeed. And the way that you allow people to succeed is to build a game, if you want to call it that, like build a game in your office where there is an ability to do that. If you're always ending in a tie at the end of every day, that's terrible, right? Like, I mean, anytime you watch like a football game that ends in a tie, you're like, can that even happen? I mean, is that even are they gonna stop the game right now? Some of the score is the same. Like, I mean, we gotta get a winner here. Like, you have to set up opportunities for there to be wins and losses that you can feel as an office. I mean, you want to experience the wins together, and then know when you have played subpar as an office, and have other people on the team that can kind of take responsibility and call one another out on it, so that you can then determine what's going to be the win the next, go around.
That's right. I think other thing that it helps employees and is mentorship. You obviously don't know everything, and you will not know everything.
Right.
But you need somebody who is your mentor, who has been doing that a little bit longer than you, and who you can get wisdom from. That is key. And we have done it here at Minick Law. You teach me a lot what I know now. And I have several mentors in my life, and I'm really grateful to all of them, and you that you have put the time to teach me, and to say show me how things are done, so we can pass that to other people too. And we try to do that. If somebody knocks my door with a question, I put everything down and I try to help the best I can.
Yeah, and I would definitely echo that back your direction in terms of like learning. That's been there's been a lot of blessings in terms of the office through the last 10 years, a lot of struggles, a lot of difficult things, but there's been a lot of blessings that I really wasn't factoring in. Again, the primary reason that it was easy to bring you aboard is because we was kind of like, well, we can reach this whole other market out here of Spanish speaking people that I cannot reach right now. But in fact, the primary value, I think, was really been all of the learning that we've done together, and all the lessons that I've learned from you. Like, on a case level, yes, because we've kind of had those experiences, but on a much bigger, on a life level, a business level, marketing, all of those things have been instrumental in allowing us to have like a growth mindset, and I feel like that was really an important thing in those early years, was just kind of, having somebody else that not only to bounce those ideas off of, but that was like, I wouldn't even say equally, way more interested in like how that kind of stuff worked. Like, I mean, your brain was just like turned on by that kind of like conversation, and it was cool to see that. So I think that was really helpful for us in terms of growing. And I think one thing that you have done or just said that's really important is having those mentors in your life, and multiple mentors. It sounds like I'm the same way. I mean, you've got to be constantly learning and finding other people that are willing to invest in you, and being very grateful when you find those people. But if you can find somebody that can, invest in you, that's where kind of the growth can happen. And I think that for us, it's more of like a trickle down effect, right? Like, how can we invest in our people and make them, leaders, right? Like, how can I make the goal for me at the office is to have, every attorney be able to kind of argue a case more successfully than I can argue. I want to think of myself as a pretty good trial attorney, but where there would be a really like kind of moment of pride would be, kind of every attorney at the office is able to out argue me in the courtroom. And there's a couple that can. And I think that's a really powerful, moment in terms of the health of the organization, is kind of, are you kind of growing, leaders and growing people to a point that kind of they're bigger than you, or are you just kind of passing information along, but only because that's necessary for the next person to do their job. But people can feel when they're being invested in versus just being kind of told what to do.
Yeah, and it's amazing to hear you say that, because there is an element of risk when you teach somebody and they can do it on their own. There is a risk that they might leave.
Right. There is definitely right.
There is definitely a risk, and but it's refreshing to hear you say, that if it happens, so be it, and this attorney can continue his journey.
Right.
But you did, what you were supposed to do, and you give it all, and you were a good mentor to those attorneys.
Yeah, and I think that we'll steal something. I think it's from Michael Mogul, because we can't go with like a conversation without talking about Michael Mogul of Chris Video. But I think he said something about, what if you invest in your people? What if you train your people and they leave? Yeah. And the answer to that is, well, what if I don't and they stay? Oh, That's powerful. That's power. I mean, that's the kind of difference in that mindset, because somebody can decide, look, I'm really crushing it. I can, figure this out on my own, and everybody can, right? I mean, that's why there's so many, solo practitioners, because if you can't find a job, which when I came out of law school, it was really difficult to find any place. I mean, it was like, recession, following recession of 2008, like it's just like, there was not a lot of opportunities there. I'm fortunate that I found a job coming out of law school, but we all have kind of that opportunity to hang our shingle, and you got to know that any attorney that comes aboard has that opportunity. Every, skilled legal assistant, paralegal, receptionist, no matter who it is that's kind of at your office, as they kind of build up talent, it's kind of like, well, maybe if I'm kind of being encouraged to succeed and I'm growing in terms of what I know about this, maybe it's time to kind of take my game to the next level, whether that's inside the organization or outside. But you cannot have like a stagnant growth mindset. You're either growing or dying. Like those are the only two options. You're either growing, and not even in size, but just mentally, in terms of how you're thinking about the problems that you are trying to solve for clients. You're either growing or you're dying. And there's so many of those like team trainings that we have where just the energy and like kind of thought power that is going on in that room is really kind of incredible to behold. I mean, it's just like so much energy about watching people just try to improve themselves, the team, the way that they're handling cases for clients. Like that is energizing to see that.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I'm excited to see what's going to happen in the next 5 or 10 years here at Minick Law, because we just had our 10-year retreat in the Wilmington area, and it was just I got a lot of it, with the trainings that we did, the picture sessions and the videos that they're absolutely all killer. But I think we are going to reap the fruits from that retreat, and then in the years to come. Right. And that's amazing that you put it on the time and the resources to make that happen. To build like a great team. It's difficult to say to a friend, "Hey, I'm not going to help you with this." Right. If you're a friend of them, okay, I'm there for you, and that's what we are here at Minick Law. We're friends, and we're colleagues, but most of all, we're friends. I'm trying to help some people. Yeah.
I think the way that I look at that is that I feel like we have at this point at the office, more so than any other moment, like just a team of A players, team of people that are really enjoy working, really enjoy what they're doing for clients, 100% invested in getting the right outcome, are not looking to cut any corners, aren't looking to, kind of make it easier for themselves. It really is focused on like getting truly disappointed when something doesn't go well for a client. Like, across the board, every team member feels like that. And so, the way that I kind of, think about the trainings and the, team events that we have is like, what if you had like all of these all-stars on your team, and then like you just gave them this like super crappy practice facility, like let's say it's a basketball team, like half the balls that they're supposed to practice with are deflated, like that you send out the wrong schedule to these people in terms of when they're supposed to be practicing, so only half the team shows up like if you can imagine like being an A-team player, that's just not going to work, right? Like very quickly people are going to be like, this isn't where I want. This is not what I signed up for. This is what I was expecting.
Not where I want to be.
No, not where I want to be. You want to like do everything possible to allow that team of people to get better individually. But I think even more importantly now, as we kind of go into the next phase of growth, is to do better as a team. And I think that's really been like the last 3 to 4 years, the emphasis on team and everybody kind of having equality within the team. It doesn't matter if you're an attorney, staff, it doesn't matter kind of what position that you have within the firm. Like we're only as good as everybody else on the team. And that sounds cliche, but it's true. Like, I've always had this like thought process of the front desk position, the receptionist, what we call it for a long time, it's still called the help desk, is the most important position, because that's your first opportunity to interact with a client. That's your first opportunity to help them. That's the first opportunity to give that client hope. And if you have somebody that doesn't know how to like answer the questions the right way, get that person help immediately, you are at a serious disadvantage, no matter how skilled your attorney is that's going to handle that case.
He wouldn't pass that, the client wouldn't pass that to hear the good thing that, the good news that the attorney has.
Right.
I think you're right.
Yeah. And I think that, in terms of us growing into the future, being focused on kind of the team development and kind of growth mindset within kind of each individual team member, that's really where we got to kind of stay focused.
Yeah, that is true. I think also in a good business, it's also to reflect on, what are the lessons learned in the past, what we did in the past that it didn't work out as we thought that it was going to work out. And I think it's something that we wanted to expand and grow as fast as we can. And, but I think a lesson that we have learned, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we tried to expand, we tried to grow, but I think we were not ready to do that.
Totally agree. Yeah.
Again, we needed to perfect our recipe. We needed to perfect our systems. We needed to have the right people in place before, for the lack of better word, franchise.
Right.
Right. I think that's something like a lot of business. They need to put a lot of time in it, figuring it out when they are ready to jump to the next franchise, to the next office opening. I think that's the lesson. One of the lessons that we have.
I think that's definitely one of the lessons that was learned, and I think that was true both in terms of like actual, attorneys, in terms of or team members. Basically hiring people before we kind of like had a specific kind of thought process about exactly why we were going into a specific market, or again, having all of the kind of right tools for that person to succeed, client management software, the correct phone support, all of those things are so important to have kind of rock solid in place. And then also expanding into the other practice areas, like we talked about earlier. That was one of those moments when I first started out. I had every intent of just being, criminal defense. That's what I wanted to do. That's what I wanted to focus. And then, in 2013, 2014, we started branching out into other practice areas. And I think it was a good thing to experiment with, only because it showed us that wasn't a good fit for us.
That's right.
There's some of those lessons learned are painful but good. I mean, I can think of a lot of different marketing opportunities that I took advantage of that did not pan out at all. And the one benefit of those was it was kind of like, okay, we can check this thing off of the list of helpful things to work on. And, I think that the way that I would say that, we kind of moved from in terms of marketing. And again, maybe one of the lessons that was learned relatively early on was it's going to be really expensive and difficult to grow a business through advertising.
Yeah.
Really expensive and difficult. If you are, basically paying for somebody else to build and host and put up your website, you're paying them a fee. As soon as you stop paying that fee, that website's gone.
Yeah.
If you're paying per click on Google, Facebook, whatever it might be, as soon as you stop sending money in that direction, that is gone. And it doesn't mean that you don't ever want to advertise, but there was really this kind of transition early on because of some failed advertising, opportunities to kind of focus on marketing or branding, where it's kind of let's build brand awareness. Branding. Let's focus on the client experience first and foremost, so that our primary salespeople will be our clients. Yeah, we don't want to be this. We don't want to sell ourselves. Like we don't want to be. Right. We don't want to be. These kind of attorneys that feel like sharks or car salesmen. Like we want to be, just doing what we do, ready to help people. Let clients, sell us to their friends and to their family members. So I think when we really focused on that in the office, and then when we focused on building a website that was about information and how to help people, and the power of that organically spreading, especially at the time that we were able to kind of get into that really changed the mindset from how can we get people to know about us through advertising versus how can we get people to know about us through marketing and branding.
Yes, and also can get expensive, right?
Right.
It can get really expensive to be paying for those leads, and some leads they don't convert, so it can really hurt your business.
Right.
But like you said, you gotta concentrate on treating your people well, your employees well, and your employees are gonna take care of you, and they are gonna take care of the clients, and ultimately the clients are gonna be taking care of you. I'm so grateful for all of our clients, because without them, we wouldn't be here.
Right.
Right. And for some reason, they decide to come with Minick Law, and I'm always going to be grateful and appreciative to our clients.
Yeah. No, I mean that is what has built the business. It's not us that have built the business. I mean, we have provided the opportunity to be a point of help, but it is the clients that have kind of been the ones. Not only in terms of just paying us to handle their case, right? Like, which that was no small thing in terms of building the business. That was important. But in terms of spreading the message, we wouldn't be where we are right now if it wasn't for other clients. I mean, that's really how we've been able to succeed. I feel like is through kind of word of mouth communication. I would say specifically, or maybe even not specifically, but even more prominently in the Spanish speaking community.
Definitely. definitely. Our community is a word of mouth community. If you hear from somebody that there is an attorney who takes care of, who does a really good job for the Hispanic community, they're gonna come to you, no matter what. They really rely on those inner circles with friends and family, and that's what I put a lot of energy on, because I understand how it works, and I'm part of the Hispanic community, and I understand like the hurdles that they go through.
Right.
I once was in the same shoe like them. I didn't speak any English. I came here to the United States, and it was a rough time. So I truly empathize with my clients when they are trying to navigate a legal system. It's hard enough just to be to adjust yourself to a different culture, to different language.
Right.
Imagine to do imagine to go to another country and get in trouble in the country that you don't speak the language.
Right.
It's really something really difficult that that they go through. So totally, I'm really appreciative to them, and forever grateful.
Yeah. And I think kind of along those same lines in terms of like appreciating your clients, appreciating other people. One of the places that I've seen us really have I'm trying to think of the right word, like I guess lesson learned or a failure, like what failures have you learned from? I think that really undervaluing who can kind of help you with a case was something that didn't really sink in right away. And I think that that's true of a lot of attorneys. You hear in law school, and if you work at a summer associate position, anybody like that kind of regularly goes into the courthouse, the clerks are your best friend, like they can make your life easier. So this isn't something that's like a new lesson, but kind of really understanding how valuable certain people at the courthouse are is something that is kind of like a eye-opening moment, and something that I think actually took a long time to really recognize that, like how much these people are kind of putting in to their work, and then they're kind of taking time away from their family, time away from other tasks that they have to do to the day to help you with this like special request that you're asking for. A lot of them are good natured, and they'll do it with a smile on their face, but not recognizing like how much you're asking that person to do in that kind of small favor. Really is something that has to be like a constant reminder, because it's just so easy when you're in and out of that kind of communication all of the time to just take that for granted.
You think it's his or her job, right?
Exactly.
Why she or he wouldn't do that,
right?
She or he is paid to do that,
right?
I think you're
that's a great
you're dead on that. I believe that some people don't see that, or because it's time consuming and build relationships. It could get messy, and it's uncomfortable to make those relationships. It requires a lot of time, and it's uncomfortable, and there are a lot of people that don't want to go there, but unfortunately we are on this in this business that we see a lot of people. We don't deal with machines or with animals,
right?
So we have to do that. If not, it's just it's not going to go well. It's not going to go well. You have to try to be a people person.
Right.
You need to be comfortable talking with people, advising people, and listening. Most of all, listening, listening to people.
Yeah, I think as you said that, I'm staring at my phone, like answering. As you say, listening to people, I had to check that call. But I think that it's such an amazing part of human nature that we forget about, like how important it is to kind of be in the moment. And especially when you're like running around trying to get things done from one place to the next, it's so easy to see the person behind the counter as really just like a robot, mechanical like object that is going to kind of, do the thing that you need them to do so that this gets entered into the computer system and there's a new court date, or the thing shows up as dismissed. It's like just kind of another part of the mechanical process. But again, that kind of like moment of realizing, no, it's not just about the systems, but really way more importantly about the people. That's, I think, like kind of that mindset shift. I think the one of the other lessons that I think really has been an important lesson to learn, and it goes back to like that Jocko Willink quote of discipline equals freedom, is this idea of accountability. I feel like there have been times in the office growth that, we have kind of been ready to level up, ready to scale up, ready to take it to the next stage. We've sat down, we've discussed it, we've talked through it. I've thought through it a lot. And then basically this thing just fizzles out because other things become a priority and more important. And there's no systematic structure in place for, this has got to be like a priority. If you want to grow, you need to sit down and like literally like write down the steps of this next office that's going to open, what you need to do to kind of make that happen. You need to kind of write down the things that need to develop from a systematic framework for these next stages in the growth of the office to happen. And more importantly, somebody else has to be like holding your feet to the fire and saying, hey, you said you're going to do this.
Execution too, I think you said this quote from one of the judges. You said, don't remember, helping remember.
Yeah. She said, this was a visiting judge from us. I don't even remember her name, but this just like struck me. I was in Superior Court one day and she told this defendant that was standing in front of her, she said, tell me about your plan. Tell me about like your plan for fixing this situation. And he basically started kind of talking in all these generalities. Now I need to get a job. And she was like, no, that's a dream. Yeah. That's a dream. What you have is a dream, something that is, got deadlines and is specific. That's a plan. You need specificity and deadlines, and then you've got a plan. And so, or a goal. Yeah, maybe it was a goal as opposed to a plan. But she was like, all you've got is a dream. If you want to have a goal, then it needs to be specific and it's got to have a deadline.
That's right.
And I mean, that really is, we all, I think at one point or another, dream big dreams.
Oh, definitely. And that's not bad.
No, it's not bad.
I think dreams are kind of there to fuel your desires. Where you incline to, what you want to, how you see the future. But at the same time, goals are different. Goals are there to fulfill your dreams, which are two different things, right? But if you don't have a deadline, like you said, and a specificity on that goal, it's going to fizzle out.
Right.
We know that's going to happen because we live in this fast-paced life. Everybody is running. So if you don't do that, it means probably that you don't want it badly.
Right. Right.
Because
I'm not committed to it.
Right. You're not committed to it, because I hear a lot of people when, they talk to me and, they know that I speak Spanish, and they told me, man, I wish I would.
You've heard that from me enough times.
No, not for you. I'm saying yes for people. I mean, and it happens to me all the time. And or when I see somebody, playing the piano, and I say, I wish I would learn how to play the piano. But in reality, I'm not invested. I don't want to do that, because if I would want to do that, I've already done it.
That's
I already done it in the past, because nothing stops me from doing that.
This is another Michael Mogul quote. If you're interested, then you'll do what's convenient. If you are committed, you'll do whatever it takes. And that's right. We're interested in a lot of these things. Being able to speak Spanish to me sounds interesting. So I go out and I buy Rosetta Stone and I start doing it with my kids. And I got to a point where I was even starting to have dreams and stuff in Spanish. And then after a while, it's well, it is cool and I like it, but there's just other things that are more important than that to me, right? And those things might be or the piano, the same thing, right? There's other things that are more important, and those sometimes might be very legitimate, right? You've got to focus on your family, you've got to focus on your job, you've got to get your kids back and forth to school, and use the time to kind of help them through homework and these types of things. So I think that there's legitimate, you've got to work on your faith, so however that works in terms of spiritual life, working on that. But I think that there's a lot of times that we all have time that we could put into these interests that do have value to them, that we want to spend vegging out in front of a, show or, doing whatever it is that we do kind of in our downtime. And, that's fine. But again, I think we just got to recognize that's a choice that we're making to kind of not achieve those things that do sound kind of, again, interesting, but that we have no sense of being committed to.
And it's also scary to say I'm committed. When you get married, you say I'm committed to my wife, for better, for worse. And I think it's scary for a lot of people to commitment. A lot of people it's scared to commitment. So that's why we use I'm interested. The term I'm interested in doing this. I'm interested because that gives you the opportunity to not do it, because you never said that you were committed. You said that you were interested. Which is completely different. But I mean. We are all done it, and we'll keep doing it. But
I'm going to keep learning Spanish.
There you go. Same for me, the piano.
There we go.
No, but I think it's important to pick what are we committed and stay true to that.
I like that. I think. Well, maybe we can wrap up with this. What do you think would be, in terms of kind of the focus or vision or kind of ways that we can kind of improve ourselves over the next 10 years, whether that's personally, kind of as a business, what do you see as either one or a couple of things that we need to focus on to improve?
I think we're already doing a great job at this, but I think we need to improve at selecting our people, and thinking about how fast and when we are ready to grow to a new market. I've heard you say that you want to, have an office in every county in North Carolina.
Serve every county in North Carolina.
Serve goal. Right. And that I'm with you on that one. I think it's first of all, it's an obtainable goal,
right?
Because we have been doing this for 10 years,
right?
and look at where are we at now.
Right.
So it's not a goal that is just like too big.
Right. It's not a pipe dream
for us.
anymore.
It's not a dream. It's like I said, it's a goal. I think we are going on the right direction to get to that goal in you said 5 years, or
right.
you said 5 years,
yeah.
right? So that and again, just taking care of your customer, your clients.
Right.
We need to be to the point of obsession to better deliver an outcome, to create a better experience for them. I also like to say, I was explaining this example to one of the attorneys of our law firm. To go to point A to point B, you just need a car.
Right.
You can choose from a Honda, or you can choose an Aston Martin.
Right.
Right. But you want to be the Honda of the criminal law defense.
Right.
You want to be this high-end car, like
right.
like
right.
a Ferrari, Lamborghini, or whatever of law firms. They both are gonna take you to the same place.
Right.
But what people pay ultimately, it is for that amazing experience.
Right. It is. Yeah.
Be able to feel that leather on that, or the horsepower on that car.
Right.
That is the experience, and I think a lot of people pay for that. So I think we need to do that. We need to take care of our clients.
Yeah, and I think, just to piggyback off of those two things, in terms of being very careful about the people that you bring aboard, I completely agree with that. I think that that's something in the next few years, as we continue to grow, really being careful about making sure that we are finding the best people to kind of bring aboard on the team, and that will then be the face of the organization to the client. You can't take that back. Whether that face is a amazing face for the firm or a terrible face for the firm, whatever the client is kind of experiencing in terms of that interaction with that team member, you can't take it back. And so we've got to be very careful about just really being we've been working on procedures and systems for our hiring process and how we're going to do that.
That's right.
But it's important because we want to make sure that we are continuing to provide that high level service that can only happen through people.
Yeah.
And finishing, I think this is a good way to finish. I'll just piggyback also on yours in terms of the client experience. One of our goals over the next 10 years is to give 10,000 people a wow experience in terms of their client interaction with us. And so basically, we want to change 10,000 people's lives, have the opportunity to touch and change permanently 10,000 people's lives. That's just based on clients. It's not based on their families, people at the courthouse, the people in our communities, all of whom we also want to touch in a positive way. But we are kind of specially focusing on our clients. And, there has been a number of ways in the last week, so many that I kind of actually need to have structured it out with Blake and with Stephanie in terms of how we're actually going to kind of implement some of these things, because if we do too many changes at once, it'll just get lost.
Right.
But there's been so many changes that have come out of the last week in terms of ways that we can improve our client experience, that it just is a reminder of, we could really do this better. I think you at some point think, oh, I've arrived. We are giving a client a wow experience. Everybody should be leaving a 5-star review, when in reality, you've got to have that humility. And I feel like we have this, but we need to maintain it as an organization to be like, we have kind of barely started to scratch the surface in terms of how we can provide, 15-star service, 20-star service to clients, right? That's what we're shooting for. We shouldn't be shooting for 5-star service. A client is expecting to give you 5 stars at the end of the experience. They're hoping they're going to do that. They don't come in and hire you expecting to leave a 1-star review.
Right.
That's not the goal. Like the goal is like, hey, I'm hiring you because you're 5-star. Like an attorney is a 5-star service, right? Like that should be, that's the starting point. So we got to figure out how to kind of provide 16-star experience and then 17-star, and just continue to build like as we grow.
Yeah, something to say about the reviews. The clients. This is how I look at it. Why somebody will give you a 5-star review? They already pay for your services.
Right.
You provide them a service. It happened in exchange. They give you some money for it.
Right.
And let's call it done.
Right.
A review happens when you go above and beyond that service that you decide you intended to provide.
And that person says, I've got to tell other people about this.
Exactly. He wants to say, oh man, I found the attorney.
Because now that's not only something that they can share and feel like kind of, but they're like, I've got a way for you to like change your life here.
Exactly.
Like, I mean, if you like think about the restaurant that you go to, and it's like amazing.
You want to tell everybody.
You want to tell people about that. You're like
because you want to play a small role in changing your friend's life as well.
Right.
Because you want to take that part and your friend's life as well.
Exactly.
So that's how I look the review systems. Why somebody, they already paid some money for you to take his case, and that's it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we have tons of reviews.
Right.
But I think more entrepreneurs should think that way. Go above and beyond what people have paid you to do.
Exactly. No, I think that's the absolute right way to look at it. Well, Henry, it's been fun. This will not be the last podcast episode that you will be on.
Thank
we
you.
will regularly have like these chit chat sessions because we do it anyways. So we might as well record it and let other people listen to it. And we're going to continue the conversation.
Sounds good. Well, first of all, thanks for having me today on your podcast. It's been great. This is the first time I do something like this. I really appreciate your time and, as I told you, your mentorship. And thanks for giving me the opportunity to work here at Minick Law. It's been a real pleasure. Thank you.
It has been, and we will continue to kick butt for our clients.
We will.
Hope you enjoyed today's episode of the podcast. If you did, please share the podcast with another freedom fighter in the criminal defense community. And be sure to leave us a rating on iTunes. See you next time.